I see the Zoom room is starting to fill up. We will be getting started in just a minute or two. Welcome to the virtual speaker session presented by the Penn State Alumni Association. Go ahead and let us know who you are and where you're zooming in from today. You can drop that information in the chat. And if you have questions, you can use the Q&A tab at the bottom of your Zoom video window. Thanks for joining us. We'll be getting started shortly. I see Claudia from Yardley. Thanks for joining us, Claudia. Jack from Hopewell, New Jersey, zooming in with us today. Welcome, Jack. Good afternoon, Penn Staters, and thank you for joining us. I'm Paul Clifford, CEO of the Penn State Alumni Association, and I'd like to welcome everybody to today's virtual speaker session titled Sustainability at Penn State, Celebrating Accomplishments and the Journey Ahead. Live closed captions are available. You can access them by clicking the closed caption button at the bottom of the Zoom video window and then clicking Show Subtitle. You may also customize your caption view by clicking the stream text link posted in the chat. And we are live streaming today's presentation, which will be archived and available on our website. Penn State has a long history of focusing on sustainability with noteworthy results. After providing a short history, Penn State's Chief Sustainability Officer, Lara Fowler, will provide a glimpse of what's going on behind the scenes at Penn State for education, sustainable operations, including working towards a goal of decarbonizing Penn State by 2035 and supporting our land grant mission. After providing the overview, she welcomes conversation, ideas, inspiration, while offering ways for you to get involved. More information on today's guest can be found in the chat, but I'm going to turn it over right now to Professor Fowler. Lara, take it away.
Thanks, Paul, and thanks for the opportunity to be here. Let me go ahead and share my screen. And just double checking that it's a full screen here.
Yes, you're good.
Excellent. Yeah, so it's a great opportunity to talk with everybody here today about what's happening at Penn State with sustainability across the whole of the university. It's a really fun space to be working in, and there's tremendous both opportunities and challenges. And so I'm going to kind of sketch through this, but want to make sure that I'm allowing plenty of time for questions and answers and discussion. So to start with, Penn State has a definition of sustainability as the simultaneous pursuit of human health and happiness, environmental quality, and economic well-being for current and future generations. I broke that definition apart in part to really think about how do we deal with humans, the environment, prosperity. Sometimes people will talk about people, prosperity, and planet, but not only for current generations, but future generations. Thinking about visuals, this is imagining what our future might look like. The upper right is imagining what that Penn State pollinator garden might look like. And if you've had a chance to visit, that now exists. The lower right picture is a group of students in a conference, the largest student sustainability event held in 2018, really thinking about the business and economics of sustainability in the Smeal College of Business. So lots of different ways of thinking about sustainability. We are working with the Sustainable Development Goals, 17 different goals adopted by the United Nations in 2015 to frame our work, but also track our progress. And these are both, I think, really broad, but also help provide direction. They range from no poverty to good health and well-being, quality education. Spend a lot of time in the sustainability space thinking about clean water and sanitation, goal 6, affordable and clean energy, and climate action. But importantly, number 17, partnerships for the goals, really, really draws through everything we're doing. Different way of looking at these goals is to think about how the biosphere or the earth helps support society, economy, and again, at the top, a little hard to read, but number 17 and the goals there. Penn State has had a long history of working in the sustainability space, kind of giving you a time frame up at the top, and I'll walk through these. Kind of prior to around the year 2000, really focused on compliance, be it how do we deal with mercury rules and burning coal in the in what's now natural gas plant, or working with water quality. These are the Penn State spray fields. 100% of Penn State's wastewater from the University Park campus is actually treated and then land applied. So no water goes back to the stream. So really much more of a regulatory or compliance based. Starting in around the year 2000, and actually there's a report that I've just been rereading, actually is putting together a history and the evolution of this that really thinks about kind of the report, let me pull this up, is actually called the Penn State Indicators Report. You can find it online. It says, hey, we're kind of doing some things, but maybe we should be doing better. The time a campus sustainability office was formed actually in the Office of Physical Plant to help move forward operational goals. Students at the time were already protesting no use for single-use plastics. In 2008, the students won a solar decathlon. The little Morningstar house there is still existing on the Penn State campus, and it is a good spark today for what you can do with student engaged work. Starting in around 2010, 2011, you had a lot more sort of how do we pull the pieces across the university together? What was then the Sustainability Institute was created in 2013. Embedded in the Penn State strategic plan was our commitment to impact, including stewarding our planet's resources. The student farm was developed in 2016 out of a pilot program. It has now become a really robust place for learning, education, engagement. I had a chance to actually be there during the Harvest Fest last year and just was quietly listening as students were like, I've never had a chance to pick my own flowers, or have you ever seen a tomato actually growing on the vine? Very basic opportunities to engage with our food and where they come from. Starting in 2017, Penn State's first Chief Sustainability Officer, Paul Shrivastava, helped really think about how do we better integrate across the whole university. This is a picture of the Franklin County solar plant now provides 25% of our electricity from solar. Developed sustainability councils in colleges, campuses, and different units. There are about 30 of them now across Penn State to really drive home that sustainability is not just one entity, but it really is taking place across the whole university. Quite a few transitions have taken place in the year 2022, not the least of which was a carbon emission reductions task force plan as President Barron was transitioning out and President Neely Bendapudi was transitioning in to say, hey, we think it's possible, in fact, to decarbonize the university. We've done really well in meeting our goals. We think we can do more. So a lot has happened in the last 20, 30, 40 years at Penn State, and a lot is happening now. I came into this role in July of 2022, 2 years ago, so starting my third year, with the request from the provost at the time to really take stock of what's happening with Penn State and sustainability. What else could we do? And I would couch it as sustainability 3.0, kind of where are we now and where do we go? I think there's a lot of opportunities to capitalize on what we've done and a lot of potential for really embedding students, research, et cetera, into this space. So across the university, there's activities, student activities, maybe outside the classroom, academics in the classroom, research, operations, outreach, a lot of the functions of the university. We think about our activities in kind of 3 buckets, if you will. How do we really foster interdisciplinary education and research? How do we make sure our Penn State's own house is in order, our own operational sustainability? And then how do we meet that land grant mission and help build a more resilient Pennsylvania, working with our communities and stewarding our landscapes? So I'm going to drop into each of those focal areas a little bit more here. First area, we're educating our students in developing more interdisciplinary approaches to education. We already have about 400 sustainability related classes. There's a sustainability leadership minor. There are different programs that really focus on sustainability as a key piece of it. I already mentioned the sustainability councils across the university. On the research side, our existing interdisciplinary focus is quite strong and widely recognized not only nationally, but internationally in the land-grant mission I've mentioned. So as we've been working on this, students have been really focused on sustainability as an educational area and a topic they'd like to do more. Last year, Neeli Bendapudi recognized the need for more sustainability literacy after students had conducted a survey in that space. We think there's an opportunity to really center student success and build university-wide programming in sustainability. Right now, it may be in a college, it may be across a couple different places. How do we knit that together with a focus on experiential learning, getting students ready for different kind of careers? It's been interesting to dig into what's a career in sustainability look like today. When I started working actually on water issues more than 30 years ago, sustainability didn't exist as a career pathway. So how do we help understand what employers might be looking for? And that's a space where we could actually really use your help. If you're going to hire somebody, what do you need? And then right now we actually have an internal faculty committee thinking through what's the width of what we're talking about, the depth and the skill set, so that if a student comes out with a degree in engineering and sustainability, we know what they're doing and what they're after. I mentioned experiential learning. This is a space where we're already doing a ton of work. So an example is our Sustainable Communities Collaborative. This is a group of students pictured here in a solar design class. They could learn how to do a solar design just by working on it on their own, but here they were embedded with the community of Williamsburg, Pennsylvania, to actually design a real solar project for the community. This program has been in place for more than 10 years. Last year, we actually conducted a return on investment to say how much funding has this generated. It was more than 4,000 students over 10 years, 113 community partners, 400 community-based projects all across the Commonwealth. Penn State was actually recognized by the Borough of State College for being a key partner through this program in 2023 for an outstanding contributions to improving the quality of life and promoting the town-gown relationships in the borough. Pictured in the middle here is my colleague Alona Ballrich, along with then council member Deanna Bering and Mayor Ezra Naines. So a program like this actually allows students to connect with what's happening in the community, see the community as more than just, oh, I buy a meal here, right? But really engage, understand the challenges, but also start to present solutions in that space. So one example of existing experiential learning, we're looking to scale this up. And we're working already on probably 20 or 30 classes this fall that will contribute to this partnership. Different program, again, in experiential learning, we have a local climate action program. It's going into its 5th year overall. 3rd year at Penn State. It's a partnership between Penn State Sustainability, the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, ICLEI, Local Governments for Sustainability, Center Council of Governments, and Connect, which is a group working in the Pittsburgh area to really connect neighborhoods. We've been working across the Commonwealth. You can see the different types of communities represented, be it from very small Lower Macungie Township to pretty much all of Bucks County was actually involved. You have students who've been involved with this who've had the opportunity to actually travel to the Council of Parties meetings, international climate negotiations this past year. Again, a real range of students who are in this. Kelly, down pictured in the lower left, has actually been working with our College of Medicine this past year on doing a greenhouse gas emissions survey to try and figure that out. So taking her knowledge from working with communities to then work with the health system and try and figure out what's possible. A lot of outreach and events. This program also really has an impact, and this is a little bit wordy, but I'm going to pull this up. Craig Beavers was the former assistant city planner and sustainability coordinator for Scranton, and he wrote us a note last year that basically said, look, a land-grant institution where our mission is providing resources to local communities, this program goes above and beyond in fulfilling that mission. Thanks to this program, we've been given a wonderful opportunity to not only develop much needed plans and strategies, but also expand our knowledge and understanding of the critical issues involving sustainability to better serve our city. So they're able to take student work and actually then move forward with city priorities to be able to get more done than they would have otherwise. I want to switch to our sort of second bucket of activities, if you will, which is our own internal operations. This is a busy slide, but we're working across places of energy, thinking about buildings. We have a standard at Penn State for LEED certified buildings for anything that's newly built. We actually have a lot of agriculture, and so thinking about managing and maintaining that, our food supplies, transportation. Can we promote more active transportation, less single occupancy vehicles? Middle picture is actually students helping separate, if anyone's been to, I'm sure people have, to Beaver Stadium for a football game. How do you separate the recyclables out from the garbage? And it's a lot of students who are helping us with that. Picture of growing food on the student farm. That's actually a lot of the food then goes back into dining services. Again, that engaged experiential learning. The lower left picture is actually just from last week. Penn State has a 10-year contract with Pepsi for the pour contract for drinks. And as part of that contract, they were required to deliver from their main headquarters in Altoona, their distribution headquarters, via electric truck. 2 of those trucks were delivered last week, 18 months early. And so you can see the picture of that. And if you're driving between Altoona and State College, you may see this on the road. All electric vehicle where they're then also helping us with the infrastructure. Stormwater management, pollinators, all spaces that we're working in. We have a lot of operational goals. They're scattered around the university. So we're working right now to actually gather them, coalesce them in one place and be able to articulate them more clearly. In some areas, though, for example, with decarbonizing Penn State, we have committed to work towards the goal of decarbonizing the university. This chart shows a lot going on, but we have in fact reduced emissions at the Penn State University Park campus by 57.5%, and for the university as a whole, which is what this chart is showing, by 50%, over 2005 baseline levels. It's a lot of different changes, ranging from phasing out coal to burning natural gas, to decisions by commuters, you name it. I mentioned earlier, powered by the sun, that 25% of our electricity supplies are now provided by solar. We've been exploring additional solar power purchase agreements, still under discussion there. The task force, I mentioned this earlier, recommended a pathway for being able to actually decarbonize the whole university. And this is something that the president has actually been working with us on to try and figure out how do we implement this and move it forward. Big headlines like this are not necessarily where the action is. Where the action is sometimes is something like sustainable labs. At the University Park campus, 25% of our space is laboratory, but it's about 44% of our energy use. So over the last couple of years, we've actually had a pilot at multiple campuses, including the University Park campus, Altoona, Barron, Harrisburg, Schuylkill, and the College of Medicine, using My Green Lab to say, hey, how do we really actually have behavior change in this space to change this? The innovation that we've had is that we have student lab ambassadors. This is from this last year. These are students working with labs on what they could do to improve their efficiency. Do you have an old freezer and do you defrost it more frequently than never? Can you make sure your fume hoods are closed? So over the last year or so, really great success where about $155,000 in estimated savings just from 1 year alone, 490 tons of carbon dioxide annually saved. This is a space where we would love for additional engagement. If you're working for a company that is interested in this, we're trying to build an advisory board for the Sustainable Lab program, thinking about training programs and curriculums, thinking about how we might take these students who now have this really fantastic experience. So if people are interested in this, would love to talk more about this. A picture of the students in action. This is checking equipment and plug loads in one of the labs in the Eberly College of Science. And this work was recognized, the national organization that runs this, I can't decode I2SL, but they had Sustainable Laboratory Awards this past year, and Penn State won honorable mention, in part because of our incorporation of students in this space. We're also supporting biodiversity. This map from the Nature Conservancy really caught my attention a few years ago. If I animate it, you can really see the migratory pathways of mammals, birds and amphibians through central Pennsylvania, really critical area. So a couple years ago, we helped foster some interdisciplinary work, integrating art and science. And you can see a picture, somebody made a quilt of a wren and talked about how what seems like a very common bird really was so fundamental to her childhood growing up, but it really highlighted that connection between art and science, the natural world, the human world. If you've been up to Shavers Creek, there's actually a phenomenal network of amphibians that live up there. If you ever get a chance to go out one dark, rainy April, just after migration season starts, this is a student holding a newt in their hand here. Closer to home, pollinator gardens, master gardeners, really working with folks in this space. And again, biodiversity is an area where students have been able to push us. There is an Instagram account of Bird Safe or Bird Strikes at Penn State, where students started documenting the impact of birds hitting buildings and raised that to a number of people's attention, including the campus architect. Estimate is about 1 billion birds a year die in the United States by bird and building collisions. So the question is, what could we do here? Student action led to work with researchers, led to a discussion about how do you actually incorporate this into new buildings. So the new Susan Welch Liberal Arts Building under construction now actually has bird-friendly glass built into this. We also basically said, hey, this is an area where we think we could do some incredible fundraising. And so we experimented with a Giving Tuesday campaign last year, where we had the most number of unusual and unique donors, about 407 different donors, where we raised $16,000 in about 3 days to support putting bird-friendly glass or retrofitting existing glass. That money is going to be going to retrofitting the Huck Life Sciences bridge and putting dots on it so birds actually see it and hopefully collide with it a little bit less. Last big bucket of activity, really supporting our land grant mission, integrating our learning and research in addressing community needs and working to implement solutions. Penn State is scattered across all of Pennsylvania. I'm not going to read through all of that, but we're really close to all of our counties in a whole bunch of different ways. So this is a picture of an outreach event at Berks last year, our Berks campus. We hold community and campus expos to bring things together. Our researchers are working across the Commonwealth to really think through things like community impacts and flooding. Pennsylvania was impacted by flooding yet again last week. And this is an area where, again, I think that we collectively at Penn State can bring our students, our classes, our research to bear to really help the Commonwealth out. How do we do all of these things? We're really thinking about by developing sustainability exposure, experiences, and expertise. Maybe we're showing a film. This was a film we showed last year, Beyond Zero, that was about Interface Carpet and their transition to go to net zero in their production of carpet. It may also be through our Eco Reps, which is a peer-to-peer education program working with first-year students in dining services in the hallways, or working different events. Question that came in before this event was, what effect does the Student Sustainability Advisory Council have? They are deeply involved as a group formed in 2011, but deeply involved in actually giving recommendations to the university. Last year, they recommended what's the potential for having compostable cutlery in the dining services. That's actually being implemented in a couple of the dining services this year already. So very direct engagement between students, ideas, and implementation, sometimes not quite as fast as the students might wish, but that's a group, groups of students are working all across the university. I'll give you a different example of thinking about this. This past year, we had a guest speaker reach out and say, hey, I'd really like to come and talk to you about sustainable fashion. It was not our normal speaker, but raising the question of fast fashion. So our speaker was Miss Pennsylvania, Miranda Moore. She is a sustainable fashion advocate and an environmental engineer. And knowing that she was coming in, we said, hey, one of our biggest student groups is the Penn State Fashion Society. Would they be interested in talking about the impacts of fast fashion? They did, and they actually then they took not only what they were learning about it, but created a spring fashion show that was all based about sustainability and fashion. And you might say, well, what's this have to do with education in this space? But you have a group of people who are interested in the topic, maybe has never thought so much about sustainability, but then spent actually much of the year thinking through, well, what does that mean? How does that match with our interests? What do we do about it? And then putting on a fashion show with Miranda Moore there in the middle, watching and participating. So a really interesting example of kind of that exposure, that experience, building into the expertise with the students. We also track what we're doing and celebrate success. There's a lot of behind the scenes work to track how we're doing with the Sustainable Development Goals. You can actually go to a web page and track each one of those. That's a work in progress. We also work through a program called the Sustainability Tracking Assessment and Rating System every 3 years. It's a program of higher education. We report a ton of metrics, and we're pleased to say that we're actually got the highest point rating in the Big Ten with a rating of gold. You can go online and look at all of these. More recently, an international rating, QS, actually ranked US 4th in the country and quite high internationally. This helps us recruit students. It helps us kind of show in a metric, how are we doing against other universities? We also give awards. This is an example of the John Rowe Sustainability Impact Awardee this past year. This was a student who was combining both art and environmentalism to think about plastics. I'm almost done. We are also diversifying our funding and investing in solutions. As I was poking around for this, realized that we're actually featured on the US Treasury's webpage for some of the work we're doing. I already mentioned the 25% of our energy coming from solar, but we're seeing a shift through the Inflation Reduction Act that allows for direct pay to universities. And so we've been very actively going after grants or funding to help address some of our operational needs and our educational needs. So for example, this was actually state funding, but we got $3.3 million to help with our fleet transformation this past year. This is from state funding, but it's to build electric vehicles and charging infrastructure. We think we'll actually probably have one of the first refrigerated trucks anywhere on the East Coast. As we're working on that, it's realizing that it's fine to have an electric truck, but you need the infrastructure on the other end to actually drive your truck there and back. So working internally to figure out what that looks like. Let me close with, we would love your help and engagement. You are welcome to join our events. There's virtual film series. Our speakers are usually hybrid to allow for participation across all of Pennsylvania and Penn Staters, no matter where they are. We have a mainstream e-news that goes out about every other week, especially during the school year. A lot of social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Help us connect and share your knowledge. We would love input on our programs. We're looking for panelists or speakers, particularly after our virtual film series. I was just talking to my colleague who coordinates that, and he's like, we're trying to have at least one alum on every one of our panels following the virtual film series. Career networking for students. Our students are really, really hungry to work in this space. Would you be willing to be a mentor? Could you come to a career fair with us? Could you serve on an advisory board? We're working on building those up and building that broader network. And then celebrate, amplify the great work that's happening. A lot of it's very invisible and people feel like this is very lonely work, but celebrate the success and share it through your networks. And then finally, help us leverage resources. We are exploring how to better expand the reach of sustainability, not just at the University Park campus, but across the whole system and really actually globally. So with that, I will take any questions, and discussion is entirely welcome. Paul, I'll let you MC the Q&A, and I'm going to stop sharing.
Thanks, Lara. And if you have any questions, you can go ahead and drop them in the Q&A tab at the bottom of the window. But we have a couple that were pre-submitted. So how has the work of the Student Sustainability Advisory Council contributed to these goals and the sustainability strategy discussed, if at all?
Yeah, and I mentioned this just really briefly. The Student Sustainability Advisory Council, SSAC, was formed in 2011 as an advisory council to the president's office and beyond. And basically, every year they've kind of twice a year been recommending things that the university could take a look at and do. Some of those ideas that have absolutely been implemented. For example, the student farm came in part from students brainstorming about this and saying, we'd love to have a student farm. We not only have the student farm at the UP campus, but we have a number of gardens at different Commonwealth campuses. Had a chance to go up to Shenango in May this year, and their campus garden garden is being used, for example, with health, training nurses about the health and opportunities for local foods. More recently, the students have raised the question of, could we have trayless dining? If I go in and I'm a student in dining services, if I pick up a tray, I'm more likely to take more food than I'm able to eat. If you don't have a tray, it's been seen at other campuses, other colleges, that you're going to take only the food that you really can carry. If you want more, go back for more. So we're actually, based on student recommendation and a ton of work behind the scenes with housing and dining services, they're actually going to implement trayless dining, I think, in 2 of the dining halls this fall. Direct linkage between the student idea, again, a lot of work behind the scenes going into implementation. And part of the implementation challenge is our dining, like our dishwashing systems, work on having a tray. So sometimes it's waiting until you've got to upgrade an infrastructure to be able to allow for it. Other ideas are easier to implement. Let's swap out plastic cutlery to go for reusable or compostable cutlery. That's easier to shift, and that shift is being made almost immediately.
Great. Next question's coming from Skip Yakel. He submitted this before the session. What about the plan for Westinghouse SMR plant on campus?
Yeah, Penn State already has nuclear on campus. It is used, the Breezy-L nuclear reactor is used, but it's just used for research. It provides no baseline electricity at all. In the carbon emission reductions task force plan, it calls for looking at nuclear. Penn State actually has a research grant for micronuclear right now in partnership with Westinghouse. Again, the proposal through that is to have a micronuclear reactor for research purposes. We're trying to figure out if it were to be on campus, A, where it would be, B, could it produce base load power that we could actually use for sustainability partnerships and sustainability related energy production. So under discussion, very lively discussion. I actually have a meeting later this week about exactly that topic. So no promises, no answers, lots of exploration.
So Jack is pointing out that Penn State is a massive purchaser. How effective have you been in influencing suppliers around sustainability, especially with the use of unrecycled plastics?
Question of single-use plastics is an enormous one. And again, while I was in the parking lot last week standing and talking with the Pepsi folks as we were looking at our shiny new electric trucks, the main distributor for Pepsi said, "How are we doing in helping you with waste reduction?" I was like, there's more we need to do. I think it's this question that all of the big universities and really a lot of folks are really wrestling with. But again, written into that contract and pushing a supplier like Pepsi is to say, how do we reduce packaging? We have a draft sustainable procurement policy that is being worked through policies. You can't find it right now. It doesn't yet. It's not codified. But we are really, it's a hot topic across a lot of different spaces. You know, we have a waste management task force that met. They finished their report in 2019. They were starting to implement some of those changes. COVID, of course, hit. And that did not help us reduce single-use plastics. It, in fact, exacerbated the question quite a bit. So it's an area we are working with. We are in discussion with our suppliers, trying to figure out behind the scenes how to do better with the materials coming through. Part of the Pepsi contract actually involves re-signing the whole university in terms of garbage and recycling. So people will start to see those signs rolling out now. But that doesn't deal with the larger question of recyclables of plastics. It's just a challenging area, and it's one, frankly, we could use some help in thinking through. So if alumni have connections, thoughts in that space, it is an area we're actively exploring.
You mentioned the LEED certification on new university buildings. Can you talk a little bit about some of the work that you're doing with Penn State Athletics on there's new construction always going on. They've announced the renovation of Beaver Stadium. How do we make Beaver Stadium more sustainable?
I've spent more time exploring and following garbage and recycling around Beaver Stadium over the last 2 years than I ever would have expected. Somebody wants to come on a tour with me, let me know. It's actually really, really interesting. And I think it came, how challenging that is came home to me recently when somebody said, look, we're running 7 events a year that are all bigger than the Super Bowl. it is just an enormous number of people, enormous amount of material coming through. So athletics has just actually contracted to do a lot of the sales of food through the different levels of the stadium through a group called OVG, the Oakview Group. And if you look closely at their materials, they're quite focused on sustainability. So they're already thinking about what materials, do you bring in a single-use chafing dish or do you use reusable? So there's going to start to be a shift already actually this fall with operations. Behind the scenes, something like when beer started to be sold in the stadium a couple of years ago, if a fan left their cans behind, it had been just pulled as garbage. Now it's being pulled separate as garbage and recyclables. We've been exploring with Thon, could we have a pitch of we start to divert more clean recyclables, kind of canning for a cause for Thon. So exploring ideas of like that, trying to figure out how to scale it up. That's the operation side of things. On the renovation side of things, Populous is the group that's working on the renovations. If you look at the work they've done, they helped develop the Climate Pledge Arena in Seattle. They're very familiar with very sustainable operations of stadiums globally. And I remember being on a call last year with the sustainability committee that is working on the stadium renovation. And as people introduced themselves, I thought, oh, wow, we actually have the who's who globally of sustainable stadium design and operations. And so it was really, really interesting. Actually, it's been interesting to listen periodically with that group where they're thinking about water and energy, biodiversity, food, material recovery. What do you do with concrete you take down as you're renovating parts of it? So lots of discussion that people just don't see that's happening behind the scenes. How we actually implement all of that, still subject to a lot of discussion, but we're actually very actively engaged in that space. And again, it's been super, super interesting to sort of say, how do you make a stadium and all of its operations as sustainable as possible when it's a set of events as big as they are?
Yes, and if you could figure out like sustainable winning, that would be great too,
So
on the field.
that is definitely above my pay grade.
Yeah. Nathan wants to know, you mentioned the Franklin County solar farm. We know we have the Orchard Road solar farm over there. Is there any plans to invest more in solar?
Short answer is yes. We actually put out a second request for proposals for solar last year. We came back with prices that were higher than we expected by quite a bit. And so a lot of discussion internally about how do we pursue that? Is it just solar? Where is the solar? And last year when we put the request for proposals out, we specifically called for solar not on farmland, which is another hot topic of discussion. There's a lot of work in Pennsylvania to put solar on reclaimed mine land, for example, a place where you wouldn't be growing food, or on hardscapes. So a lot of discussion going on behind the scenes about that and taking stock after last year's the price of solar panels, I think, was low, but the cost of materials, labor, and installation was really high. I think it was what was driving that sort of price difference. So Penn State was an early mover with the Franklin County solar a number of years ago. We're no longer an early mover in the space of solar in Pennsylvania. So trying to recalibrate and take stock of that.
He has a second part to his question. How else does Penn State plan to reduce scope 1 and 2 emissions?
Yeah, so scope 1 and 2, we think about emissions in three ways: scope 1, 2, and 3. And interestingly enough, the Securities and Exchange Commission is starting to actually really look at regulating companies for this. There's not regulations that require us to address these. Scope 1 emissions are emissions that we generate. So for example, our West Campus steam plant, we burn natural gas for our own uses. Scope 2 would be emissions, for example, we're buying gas, electricity that we're purchasing effectively. We buy from West Penn Power or power, we buy gas. That's scope 2. Scope 3 is this enormous, crazy bucket of everything else. We buy stuff. What are the emissions associated with that? Somebody commutes to campus. Luke Combs came to campus. If anybody went to that concert, we gridlocked the entire area for hours. What are the emissions associated with a concert? Those are all emissions that we've said that we are responsible for dealing with. Scope 1 and 2, again, the carbon emission reduction task force called out a number of actions, be it, do we put in geothermal? Do we put in nuclear? we're really looking at things like energy efficiency. We've had an energy savings program that is invested in energy efficiency over time. You look at universities like Michigan, they're announcing that kind of program now. Our program started in 2003. New budget model, we're recalibrating the budget and the funding for that. But that kind of investment means that we reduced our energy need and we're no longer needing to buy that much more energy. So how do we reduce our energy? Things like the migraine labs is just bringing people's attention to it. So sometimes it's behavior change, but sometimes it's systems change. And we're working at all of we collectively across the university are working at all those scales.
You know, one of the things that I think about are the number of vehicles that Penn State owns. You mentioned the Pepsi truck and how that's gone electric. But I think a big impact we could obviously have is if we converted our entire fleet to electric vehicles, right? So I'm sure that's part of the plan. But can you talk a little bit more about what it's going to take to get to that point?
Sure. So it's both what are the number of vehicles and how are they fueled, right? So we own a lot of vehicles. I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but it is a lot. And a lot of them are owned by departments. Maybe you have a truck that's sitting there all the time, but used periodically. How do you right size the fleet in the first place? Because you're not only then paying for less for the vehicle, but for insurance, storage, maintenance, you name it. So if we have a vehicle, how do we make sure it's the right vehicle for the right time, the right use? And then can you start to electrify it? So we have a number, for example, if you go check a car out of fleet, we have a number of them that are hybrid. But what's also interesting, and again, taking a role like this, I've been at Penn State 12 years and shifting from the teaching and the research side to the operations side, to sit down and say, we have a whole lot of vehicles that are kind of small to mid-size that are driving around campus to do operations one way or another. Well, there's a whole kind of class of electric vehicles that just doesn't exist. So talking with Ford or Volvo or Mack Truck or some of the other partners to say, hey, we need something that is not little car vehicle, not big truck, something in between. And so you're seeing a real evolution and shift in that space, even as we're identifying our own needs. So our folks, our colleagues in transportation are doing a great job of helping think through this. And it's, again, a space if alumni have experience and engagement in fleet electrification, right sizing, managing this, we welcome people's engagement, but it's a space we're very actively working on behind the scenes.
Lara, how do you think about the juxtaposition between moving the whole fleet to electric, right? But still using carbon-based electricity to power all of that electric. Is it a neutral offset? Is it is there a plus to still doing that, even though you might be powering it through West Penn and through some of the other places that we get our electricity?
I would say we are working in both directions. How do we decarbonize our overall electricity supply and gas supply? What's that look like? And if we can't decarbonize it, how do we offset it? And I'll come back to that question in a second. But then also, how do we then transform the fleet? So it's a yes and.
Right.
Sorry, I talk a lot with my hands clearly, but how do you build these things at the same time while you're trying to work through it? And the question of offsets is a fraught one worldwide. Am I investing, I know some of the areas in California where people have paid for carbon offsets in trees that have just gone up in flames. Is that really an offset? And so some of what we're exploring, we have a whole action team that's focused on offsets. So really thinking about what's the potential for insets, different way of maybe putting it. And that's not really the word they're using, but do we help decarbonize and drive our own efforts here at Penn State? Can we put, better fume hoods in so we're operating more efficiently and we drive that down? Can we help work with communities across Pennsylvania, increase their energy efficiency and offset something closer to home? So lots of exploration in an area that is really under discussion globally.
Right. You mentioned the number of vehicles that Penn State owns. We also own a lot of cattle, horses, right? Livestock. What are we doing in the space of like sustainable farming, or to have an impact on the impact that those animals also have on the environment?
Yeah, a couple different things. One is that the College of Ag Science actually has a little biodigester that handles manure, and it's out in kind of the complex of farm buildings at the University Park campus. There's been, it's actually an idea that came up from the Student Sustainability Advisory Council of, do we invest in renewable natural gas? Where there might be a biodigester somewhere to handle not only animal waste, but maybe food waste, but it generates energy. I'm talking with a biology colleague at the Wilkes-Barre campus, and she was like, we have a farm next door. We'd love to partner on that and actually get to a more circular economy. So lots of exploration in that space. Part of the climate action teams that we have, one is focused on agriculture. What are our agricultural emissions? What are the opportunities in that space? And I would say that work is just getting underway, but it's a big and daunting and very rich space. It's thinking about land stewardship as a whole for Penn State. Penn State owns 22,600 acres of land across Pennsylvania. So one of the things that's come up, students actually pushed for a sustainable landscape implementation plan for the UP campus. And just for the core of campus, not including the golf course, not including the more external areas, we spend 16,000 hours, people hours mowing. You mow grass, it breaks down, it produces greenhouse gas emissions. Can you start to actually swap out some of that glossy green grass and put in more sustainable landscapes? It maybe looks a little messier, but it provides biodiversity, it sequesters carbon, it's less maintenance. So we're really exploring what that looks like. And again, if I'm an alum on campus and I'm like, what is this? Some of that's going to be care and feeding of helping people understand, no, this is a biodiverse carbon sink of a landscape. So it's not just animal agriculture, but it's our whole landmass. College of Science is exploring doing carbon sequestration through some of our forest land. So again, a really rich area where a lot of discussions are coming together.
Jack wants to know, and I chuckle when I hear his question, because we all know this is an issue at college campuses around the country. Is funding for sustainable issues an issue? And I'll just add to his question, right? How do you prioritize where that funding goes to?
Sure. Is funding an issue? Absolutely. The list of things we could and should do is much, much longer than the funding sources. So we've really actually been focused on how do we diversify the funding coming into Penn State in a variety of different ways. And again, the shift in federal funding to allow for nonprofits and universities to apply for grants has been a game changer. The university has historically never gone after grants for operational related purposes for anything really except for the airport. So in the last 2 years, we've applied for $19 million worth, almost $20 million worth of funding, both internal and external to the university. Internal, the student fee board is to say, hey, there's environmental priorities. Can you help us with that? And we've leveraged more than $5 million worth of funding. If you're talking to folks in the research side, a 25% hit rate for grants would be astronomically really fantastic. So we're piloting by doing and saying, hey, we think that there's funding to be had out there, but how do we diversify that portfolio? So we're seeing sometimes those grants come with a call for a 10% match. So could we, through philanthropy, develop a pot of funding that's used for match that gives you 10 to $1 for each dollar coming in? Are there ways to do, he mentions a green bond, looking at that as a potential. University of Michigan went out for a $300 million green bond and had it subscribed to just like that. So what's the color of money? How do we work with it? How do we leverage it? But how do we actually create a synergistic portfolio of funding that allows us to move much better, faster in a lot of these spaces? Subject of almost daily discussion. And again, if folks are interested in the innovative finance space, it's an area we could use some help.
Yeah, and actually that question came from Jack Gallagher. He points out large companies like Verizon have issued green bonds to fund initiatives, and they're usually oversubscribed. So not just on the governmental side, but on the corporate side as well.
Yeah. One other area that's behind the scenes, but I think is really interesting, is our insurance company is actually providing funding back to Penn State for climate resilience. And so you do see the ratings companies or the insurance companies starting to think about how do you invest funding in this space. Our Altoona campus has had a flooding problem where a couple years in a row, they're right on a creek, it's flooded out the gym. So we're investing that money to actually build more resilience in that space and hopefully decrease the flooding. But just again, behind the scenes, some of the discussions that take place of, okay, a chunk of money that size is sizable for one space, but when you spread it across the whole university, how do you actually really make a difference? So again, super interesting space that's playing out in very real time.
Well, that's all the time that we have today. Lara, I'd like to thank you for joining us on the virtual speaker session. I also want to thank everybody who has tuned in today for the speaker session. As a reminder, you can find a full listing of all of our events, both online and in person, at our website at alumni.psu.edu/events. Thank you for joining us and for all you do for the university, for the glory, and for the future. We are
Penn State. Thank you so much. And thanks all for taking the time to join us here today.
Take care.